Salt was considered holy. We cannot survive without salts. But there are different types of salts. The same way there are different types of water, there are different types of salt. So let's go through it. Let's talk about your typical table salt. We getting on down, we go to the restaurant, we get a salt shake, and we on our food, okay? That is considered of table salt. That table salt consists of sodium chloride, NaCl, possibly iodine, and additives such as flow agents. Okay? So NaCl, possibly iodine, depending on if you get iodinized salt, and chemical flow agents. Now, Abdul, what the heck is a chemical flow agent? A chemical flow agent allows the salt from becoming sticky, basically. It becomes sticky. So salt will bind together with moisture. But you add these chemical flow agents, it prevents the salt from absorbing the moisture and clumping together. Because salt naturally wants to absorb moisture. Okay? That's your typical table salt. That's what it's made of. It's sodium chloride with iodine, possibly, if you get iodinized salt, and these flow agents, these chemical flow agents. Now, that's table salt. What does table salt do for you? What makes it different? Table salt pulls water from the cell. Did y'all hear what I just said? Table salt pulls water from the cell. Table salt increases your chances of edema. Edema, swelling of the legs, usually swelling in your legs. Table salt will raise your blood pressure. It will raise your blood pressure. And we're going to explain why it raises your blood pressure so you have some understanding. The body, and this is the understanding of it, the body surrounds the salt with water. Okay? One molecule of table salt pulls out 23 molecules of water from the cell. Okay? One molecule of table salt pulls 23 molecules of water from the cell. The body wants to deal with it, so it surrounds the salt with water to ionize and pull apart the sodium and the chloride. Okay? It wants to ionize that, and the way it has to do that is by using its water to do that. And it pulls that water from the surrounding cells and damages the cell in the process. Okay? It pulls the water from the surrounding cells to ionize. It pulls the water to ionize the sodium chloride to break it apart so the cell can actually use it, but it must pull from the surrounding cells, damaging the cells. Now, let's understand, why does it increase your blood pressure? Because it increases your blood pressure. It increases your blood pressure because just of the action I just said and how it has to pull water from the cell. If you have more fluid in your cells and your blood vessels, it increases the pressure in your blood vessels. That's more fluid in the blood vessels. You have an increased pressure in the blood vessels. Just from consuming table salt, you have increased your blood pressure. Because why? You pulled the vital water out of the cell to ionize the sodium chloride to make your body use it. It is damaging to the body. Okay? It is damaging to the body. Table salt is not true salt. Table salt is not true salt. It is exactly what it is, a tabled salt. It is not a true salt. This is not the salt that was mined. This is not the salt trades. It's a different type of salt. Okay? So that's table salt. Then we have sea salt. Sea salt comes from evaporated seawater. And this includes your Celtic salts. This includes your Dead Sea salt. This includes usually your kosher salts. Okay? This is in that same realm, that sea salt. It's a large name for different types of salt. And they all have one thing in particular. They come from water, and it's coming from evaporated seawater. Okay? Now, there are lots of minerals found in sea salt. Lots of minerals found in sea salt. They have anywhere between 12 and 94 minerals found in sea salt. 12 and 94 minerals found in sea salt. When you regular sea salt, your typical regular sea salt, not the exclusive ones, but your typical regular sea salt contains anywhere between 12 and 18 minerals. Your Celtic salts and your Dead Sea salts contain about 84 minerals. When you add them to water, especially like Celtic salt or Dead Sea salt or anything like that, when you add them to water, they have the same chemical makeup of your blood. They have the same chemical makeup of your blood. That's why sometimes when you're dehydrated, they give you a saline solution. They just don't tell you to drink water. They give you a saline solution. These salts are not sodium chloride. These salts are coming along with the other components of salt. These are true salts. What makes this different from regular table salt? They have a complete crystalline structure. They have 84 minerals, 12 to 84 minerals with them. They are close to the composition of human blood. And they improve hydration. Dude, you just said salt pulls water out. No, I said table salt does. Sea salt and all the sea salt components can actually hydrate. They pull water into the cell. They pull water into the cell, hydrating the cell. Sea salts and these families of sea salts can lower your blood pressure. Celtic salt, I did a whole video on this on TikTok, is rich in magnesium. It's a sea salt that's actually rich in magnesium. And it pulls water into the cell. Okay? It pulls water into the cell. It will reduce your edema. If you have edema, you get off of table salt and you switch it over to these salts. And it will get rid of your edema. Because what it does is it gets rid of all that extra water that's being pulled out and it puts it back into the cell. Sea salts will do this. Sea salts will also help you deal with joint pain. And we're going to get into all that. So those are sea salts. Sea salts are anywhere between 12 and 84 different type of minerals in sea salt. And then you have crystalline or crystal salt, better known as your mineral salts. And these are your mine salts. They contain anywhere between 60 and 94 minerals. They are usually your Himalayan salts. These are well-known, your pink salts, well-known crystalline salts. The structure of each of these salts is slightly different. Well, as you think of your table salt, think of like a cube shape. You think of your sea salt, think of almost like the way, like a cube, but with crystals coming out on the side. Almost like if you could picture it, almost like a snowflake. And think of your crystalline salts as flat snowflakes spread all out. This is the best way of thinking of them. If you looked at them under a microscope, under like 400 or 500 magnification. This is the difference in the salts. Because they're bound to all these extra minerals. 60 to 94 minerals. They're very alkaline on the body. Crystalline salts or crystal salts or mine salts are very alkaline on the body. They improve hydration. The crystalline structure makes it easy for the body to absorb the salt. Makes it easy for the body to absorb the salt. Water follows the salt into the cell the same way it does for Celtic salt and the other sea salts. It will do the same with the mineral salts, the crystal salts. Okay? It promotes excretion of excessive nitrogens that come from animal proteins. Okay? You don't get this with table salt. You can get this somewhat with certain sea salts. But you get this with the Himalayan salts and the other rock salts, the crystalline salts. They make the body excrete excessive nitrogens that come from animal protein. So they have an alkalining effect because they have anywhere between 60 and 94 minerals found in them. They make the body excrete excessive nitrogens. They hydrate and deal with blood pressure. They will reduce your edema. And they have a detoxifying effect. And if you notice you're always thirsty, they hydrate you. They hydrate you. And you've seen them. You've seen the crystalline salts. You've seen them Himalayan salts. They're much more expensive than your typical table salt. Much more expensive. You also have things like black salt that come from volcano and all them other things. So there's different crystalline salts. You have black salts and all them other ones. But I'm just talking about the most common one. And that's your Himalayan salt. And those are salts. Now let's talk about some of the things that salt, how to make a healing solution from these salts in this water. I worked for a company at one point in time. I was blessed to, I've done a lot. I always say that. I've done a lot in this health foods field. I worked for a company that used to deal specifically with Himalayan salts. They used to mine the salts. And I learned so much. I read a book. It was called Salt and Water. And the book was basically talking about all the healing you could get from these basic two products, salt and the proper water. And one of the things they used to have was this combination called Soleil. That's what we used to call it, Soleil. And Soleil, all it was taking regular spring water and putting a large amount of Himalayan crystals at the bottom of it and pouring your water on top and sit that out. That's it. And what you would do is take a spoonful of this concoction, this solution, after it has been sitting for a minimum of 24 hours in a glass bottle, and it allows a super concentrated form of these minerals. Super concentrated. You just can't drink that. You add a spoonful of that to a 16 ounce of water, and you drink the water. What that would do, a couple of things it would do. Number one, it takes your regular spring water and it makes it alkaline water. It literally takes your typical Poland Spring and makes it alkaline. Number two, it changes the structure of the water. It iodinizes, or not iodinizes. It makes it an ionic solution. It makes it an ionic solution. It changes the structure of the water, making it more hydrating for you. Just by that one spoonful in your 16-ounce cup of water. It detoxifies the body. It calms the nerves. All from this one spoonful of water into that 16-ounce spoonful in that 16-ounce of water. And you could do this once or twice a day. And it will change it. And this was called Sole, S-O-L-E. They used to say Sol or Sole. Bless. You know, I was able to work for this Himalayan salt company for about 4 years. And that was one of the ways you can use it. You can do this with Himalayan salt. And you can also do it with your Celtic salts. Okay? The benefit is this. Like I said, it will alkaline you. It can reduce and break down kidney and gallstones. Especially kidney stones. It can reduce and soften and break down kidney stones and gallstones. And why is that? Because one thing about good salt is what you consider a softening agent to the body. Salt is not a hard substance to the body. Sodium itself is a soft metal. Very reactive metal. Salt is a softening to the body. It will break down excessive amounts of calcium. Not calcium your body needs, excessive amounts of calcium in the form of kidney stones. Another thing, this Sole solution, or the benefits of salt, it will also make your body reduce what? Gout. If you are a person that deals with gout, you should be using these salts, such as your Celtic salt, or your Himalayan salts, or your typical other sea salts, or your black salts. Because what did we say? It reduces the excessive nitrogens that come from animal protein. And what is gout? What is gout? Gout is uric acid. Uric acid that is building up in the system. And what is uric acid? It's just urea. It's urea that's been crystallized and got in your toes and busting your butt. And what is urea? Urea is uric acid. And uric acid is a byproduct of pneumonia. And pneumonia comes from nitrogen. That comes from eating excessive amounts of animal proteins. So large amount of excessive animal proteins creates too much nitrogen that the body makes it to ammonia to detoxify it, turns it to uric acid, and if that uric acid is not turned into urea for you to urinate it out, it will go into your toes and bust your butt. And then what does the Himalayan salts do, or the crystalline salts, or the sea salts do? They allow the body to get rid of excessive nitrogens, helping you with your gout. What did we say? Also, it helps soften the joints in a good way. So it helps deal with joint pain. Maybe you have too much excessive calcium and other things in those joints. It softens the joints, get rid of those joint pains. A salt bath will deal with rashes, psoriasis, and eczema. You know, you've ever used a salt scrub? How is it that when you're using a salt scrub, and it's usually using salts like Himalayan salts, crystalline salts, sea salts, they're not using table salt. It actually makes the skin softer. How can it make the skin softer if it's a dehydrating salt? It doesn't, because it pulls moisture to the skin, making the skin softer. It is an excellent solution for the colon. You ever did a salt water flush? Drink a big cup of salt water, Warm salt water. You taking a dump in about 45 to an hour. It's gonna flush you out. Colon cleansing. Breathing in salt clears your lungs of mucus and deals with asthma and allergy problems. Abdul, how am I gonna breathe in salt? What, am I just gonna breathe it up to my nose? And no. That's not the way you do it. I'm not tell you go snort some salt. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm telling you to do is take that salt, that Himalayan salt and that sea salt, put it in some warm boiling water. It's going to completely dissolve in, and then you breathe in the steam. That's an easy way. You're getting the salt solution in your lungs. Do I want salt in my lungs? You want that very thin layer. Yes, you do. You know what it does? It thins and breaks up mucus. You know what it does? It acts as a protective coating in the lungs. You know what it does? It gives you a protective coating in your sinus passages. You know what it does? It gives you a protective coating in your throat. You know what it does? It gives you a protective coating in your alveolus. You know? That's what it does. Did you know that people who worked in salt mines, this was research, they was trying to find out that they thought people who worked in salt mines was going to have bad lungs. The same way people who worked in coal mines. They found people who worked in salt mines were healthier and had no problems when it came down to allergies and bronchial issues. They were devoid of getting most of the diseases that the surrounding people would get, because they worked in the salt mine, and that little bit of salt will get in their lungs and build up a protective coating in their lungs. To this day, you have retreats where they take people who have bronchial problems to salt mines to sleep in for days at a time. So, breathing in salt, another good one, by doing it as a steam inhalation. Another good thing you can do is using a neti pot for salt. We already know this. Neti pots are excellent for salt. Doing a neti pot, it cleanses the sinus passages. Salt, eye salt wash, when you have the little cup and you put the salt wash over your eye, it pulls mucus from the eye. It pulls mucus from the eye. So if you wake up with a lot of mucus in your eye, you should be also drinking the Soleil concoction. You should be consuming this salt in your food. And you can use that on your eye. Not the Soleil, but you make your own salt concoction and you put it over your eye. And it will clean the mucus out on your eye. And salt is excellent for killing fungus. Salt is excellent for killing fungus. If you have fungus on your feet, you have fungus in your nails, soak your feet in soak your feet in salt water solution. A strong salt water solution. Very high concentration of salt. It will kill the fungus on your feet. And it will kill the fungus in your nails. So, that's it for my salt water and my salt talk today. I'm going to open up the lines for anyone who have any questions. I'm also going to stop the recording.